The government's looking at proposals that would legally require internet service providers to take action against users who access pirate material. People who illegally download movies and music from the net could have their connections severed. Well, joining me now from our central London studio, Matt Phillips from the British phonographic industry, which represents the UK music industry. Matt Phillips, is it fair to make this the problem of internet service providers?
Well, internet service providers have done pretty well out of music so far, and clearly they've built very successful businesses out of the availability of music and giving their customers access to that music. But unfortunately that access has been for free, and we're now in a situation where, despite the impressive progress that our business has made in embracing the internet and creating legal services, only 1 in 20 of those downloads are actually paid for. Now, quite clearly, the internet service provider owns that customer relationship. They're in a unique position to be able to warn their customers and advise them what is and isn't legal. And unfortunately, they've not done that to any degree of satisfaction as far as we're concerned. So what we've been urging them to do for some 18 months now is to introduce a system that would first warn their customer if they're using peer-to-peer networks to share music illegally, then secondly to suspend that account should they ignore the first warning, and then thirdly to terminate that account if they ignore the first 2 warnings. Now, from our point of view, that's a far more effective and reasonable way to tackle the problem than to force us to take legal action against their customers. So we're very encouraged by the noises from government that indicate that they are now taking this issue very, very seriously indeed.
It's a huge amount of work for them, isn't it? And as one editor put it to me, it's a bit like asking the Highways Agency to police how people are driving. My question to you is, why does it have to be their problem, and how can they do that to a satisfactory degree that you think everyone would be caught?
Well, I think they need to take a step in the right direction. I mean, we're not asking people to police the internet or to enter a technological arms race to solve this problem. We're simply asking internet service providers to take very reasonable steps. And the evolution of technology has not removed the right of people that are creative people, the right of them to be paid and rewarded for their work. So what we're asking for is a very, very straightforward, low-fi solution, which is to write letters to customers of theirs who we have identified as infringing the law, and just simply to warn them that what they're doing is unlawful. And that would make an enormous step forward in terms of developing new digital music services for music fans, which also is what we all want.
What about a step in completely the opposite direction, just saying people can download, you forget the piracy laws, just like many websites have now figured out you can't make people subscribe for content. Why don't you do that in the music industry?
Well, I think that's an interesting question that challenges everyone in the creative industries. I mean, we could do all sorts of things, like we could abolish all rules that mean that creative people are allowed to are paid for their work. Equally, you could, if you look at the growing problem also of these TV link services that allow people to access BBC content, for instance, without paying for it, we could just say, let's just scrap the license fee and let people do it. But of course, that would remove the investment in creativity and remove the investment and reward for creative people, and that's not a good place to be. Where we want to be as an economy is rewarding our creators and building and thriving and creating more money going back to those people that are creative and the people that invest in them. And quite clearly the internet for a long, long time has been like the Wild West, where rules and regulations have been completely swept aside, and it's time for that to change. The government have recognised this. Even ISPs recognise that it's wrong for their customers to be downloading music illegally. Sure. So together we need to develop new services for music fans that's to the benefit of everybody.
OK, Matt Phillips, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Weather in a moment. Quick update, first of all, coming to us from Copenhagen.
But first, are you in danger of being cut off from the internet? Well, under new government proposals, it could happen to anyone who downloads music and movies illegally. And for parents, that could mean you'll have to keep a closer eye on what your children are up to online. More than 7 million people illegally download in the UK. File sharing is the most common way of doing it. Those are programmes which allow users to swap files more easily. It costs the British music industry an estimated £400 million every year. But can online piracy ever really be stopped? Our business correspondent Mark Edo investigates.
This is how we used to share music. Buy a vinyl record in the shop.
They buy long-playing records at £1 each.
And dance to it with your friends. But how times have changed. Now, with a few clicks of a mouse, millions of songs and movies are downloaded from the internet every day, often illegally. Last year, 6 million people downloaded but didn't pay for songs like this. So this year, the record industry wants to get tough with internet pirates. If new legislation goes through, offenders could see their broadband connections cut off. But one internet expert is skeptical.
The proposed system will first of all warn you in an email that something's been going on, then it will suspend you maybe for a week, and thirdly, it will disconnect you from the internet. But this isn't going to work because it's so hard to determine if someone's downloading copyrighted material.
And there's another problem. Many people forget to lock their wireless internet connections, so other users hop on. It's called Wi-Fi piggybacking.
We've only been driving around for about 10 minutes and I've already found 12 Wi-Fi connections from homes and businesses around here that have been left unlocked. Now anyone could get onto them and start to illegally download music or videos, and it's the owner of the connection who'd be in trouble.
This band recently gave away some of their songs online to encourage new fans to come to their gigs. They think the music industry is stuck in the past and needs to embrace the change brought on by the internet instead of fighting it.
And I know a lot of people that do it almost, you know, it's far too many to be kind of penalised across the board. And I just think it's a crazy notion to try and jump on that train because it's just going to be such hard work.
All the same, the media industry will try. It's losing millions of pounds a day to online piracy, so it's unlikely to walk away without a fight. Mark Edo, ITV News.
Some other stories making the news.
People who illegally download music and films may have their internet access cut off under plans the government is considering. An estimated 6 million people a year are suspected of illegal downloading in the UK. Music and film companies say the practice is costing them millions of pounds in lost revenues. But the draft proposals could be a legal minefield, with internet service providers required to police their own customers. The music industry, which is behind the move, says intervention is better than legislation.
Quite simply, what we need internet service providers to begin warning their customers when they're engaged in unlawful activity using their broadband accounts. What we've proposed, and we've been trying to negotiate for more than 18 months now, is a simple three-step procedure where consumers are first warned, then suspended, and then have their accounts terminated if they refuse to ignore warnings that what they're doing is unlawful.
The butcher jailed for a year for...
Downloading music from the internet has never been easier, but sometimes it's a little too easy to do it without paying. Now, the government says it's considering a 3 strikes and you're out law, which could see people who steal music banned from browsing for good. Fi's political editor Andy Bell reports.
Forget CDs and DVDs, more and more music and film is being downloaded from the internet, often illegally. Now the plan is to force internet service providers to keep track of anyone breaking the law.
What the music industry has done is invested heavily in new digital services for music fans so they can get music safely and legally online. But those services are always going to struggle if they're trying to compete with freely available music. This culture of something for nothing must change, and it's time the internet service providers got more involved.
It's estimated that 6 million people in the UK are downloading music and film illegally. That's costing both industries a combined £1 billion a year. At night, 95% of internet use is thought to be taken up by illegal downloading. The plan is that illegal downloaders will face 3 strikes and you're out. A warning email, then suspension from the internet, and then disconnection. But experts say it'll be very difficult to enforce.
How many people have different emails? This is the question. And who exactly was the person downloading these illegal files? That's another challenge. And if you have Wi-Fi, somebody else could, your neighbor could actually be downloading through your access points.
Davy McManus and his band Crimea were the first to put an album on the internet for free. He says the music business is fighting a losing battle.
I think that people are just going to download music anyway, no matter what happens. And, you know, it's illegal anyway to do it, but everybody's doing it now. So I just think people are going to, it's going to happen, and there's no way of stopping it.
The internet service providers say the scheme would be like asking the post office to monitor every letter, but the music business and the government seem determined to see this practice cut off. Andy Bell, 5 News.
You've been warned. Inflation has gone up to 2.2%.
Plan to protect the profits of record companies and film studios hit by the illegal copying of music and movies over the internet has been thrown into doubt tonight. As many as 6 million people are thought to pirate material in Britain every year. Now the government wants their access to the internet denied. Our business correspondent Mark Edo has been investigating whether it'll work.
It's all out there in cyberspace. Millions of movies, millions of songs, ready to download and share. The trouble is, an estimated 6 million people a year don't pay a penny for their content. So the entertainment industry wants to cut them off from the internet. You'd think the future heads would be happy to see a crackdown on people swapping their music illegally. But no, this ban thinks it's further proof the industry just doesn't get the internet. Fans should be encouraged to download tracks.
As a musician, you don't really mind about that because the kids that are legally and illegally downloading are still going out to the shows and they're still getting involved in the live experience and getting other merch, and in some instances going out and buying the album after they've downloaded it.
The entertainment industry is keen to stop people from stealing tracks like this, so it wants broadband companies to disconnect customers who repeatedly download pirated songs and films. And next week, ministers will propose new legislation pushing for that. But one internet expert thinks the law would be unenforceable.
The proposed system will first of all warn you in an email that something's been going on, then it will suspend you maybe for a week, and thirdly, it will disconnect you from the internet. But this isn't going to work because it's so hard to determine if someone's downloading copyrighted material and you don't actually know that it's the person who lives at that address. It may be someone living next door.
We took a trip around town to see how easy it is to break into other people's wireless connections. It's called Wi-Fi piggybacking.
We've only been driving around for about 10 minutes and I've already found 12 Wi-Fi connections from homes and businesses around here that have been left unlocked. Now anyone could get onto them and start to illegally download music or videos, and it's the owner of the connection who'd be in trouble.
But the music and movie industries are determined to shut the pirates out. They're likely to find cyberspace very hard to police. Mark Edo, News at 10.
Tonight's main